A common anxiety, yet rarely spoken, openly comes from hair shaming and policing in the online natural hair care spaces. Welcome to the reality that many Black women face. Today, you guys know that here on the Coily Code, we're no strangers to controversial topics, but I want to unravel this thread, this very tough thread, hair shaming and policing on the online Black community space, a topic that I believe demands our attention. I've been observing this growing topic surfacing in the online YouTube space, and mainly from women who are either heat training their natural hair or are returning back to relaxers. So, are you ready? Let's dive in. Before we move ahead, don't forget to subscribe if you are already enjoying this video, and also if you're interested in looking at more natural hair content, there's more to come. I want to present this disclaimer and let you know that it is not my intention to group any one person into these two sides of beliefs. Now, I will say it was very hard for me to come up with a better, more positive connotation for those who are pro hair shaming or pro policing the natural hair community. And the only thing I could come up with was people who support having structure within a community. Please take what I say as a grain of salt. At the end of the day, though I am presenting both sides of the argument, sharing my own opinion at the very end, it is merely that, just an opinion. And I am open to civil discussion about this, but if anyone decides that they want to take the low road to spew hatred or darts at me or any of my subscribers, you will be blessed, prayed for, and blocked from ever coming back to this channel again. This issue is complex, layered, and often fraught with personal experiences and historical implications. Let's talk about the pro side to what I would coin as having a needed structure within the community that may be necessary. So let's talk about the first pro. One of the reasons why some people are proponents of this is because it promotes cultural heritage. Some folks have argued that by promoting natural Black hairstyles is a way of celebrating diversity and resisting Eurocentric beauty standards. And so they may believe that some policing is a form of guidance aimed to help individuals embrace their roots. The second pro is that by having a structure within the community that's necessary, you create community standards. So some here would argue that some of the rules and standards are in place to educate and inform those, especially those who are beginning a natural hair journey. Now, the third reason that people support this idea of having a structure or police standard in the natural hair space is for health and well-being. So we know that certain practices and treatments damage the hair very much and also poses a risk to the health of the women, right? So whether relaxers would cause birth defects or cancer and so on and so forth. So these are more holistic health reasons why some may support the idea of calling it out to fight against the potential health hazards that chemicals and as well as treatments could have on the hair. And finally, the fourth reason, I observe that people who support having the structure or this standard in the natural hair community space is for unity and identity. There is a belief that maintaining certain standards around hairstyles can help promote unity and a collective identity. Okay, everybody take a deep breath, take a deep breath. All right, now let's talk about the cons. So those who believe that hair shaming and policing is problematic in our community. The first reason is that it builds negative stereotypes. Some have argued that hair policing and hair shaming actually perpetuates negative racial stereotypes by suggesting that certain hairstyles are not good or acceptable, reinforces the notion that natural Black hair is inferior. But when you see a woman with heat-trained natural hair, it is still her natural hair. It's just not in its state. But by saying she isn't Black enough, that is a negative racial stereotype in the Black community. Maybe not in the world at large, but in the Black community. This reason was a little hard to grapple with, but I do find that it does have valid arguments. The second reason why proponents of being against hair shaming and policing and it being problematic is that there's a loss of personal freedom. The freedom to express oneself through a chosen hairstyle is one's fundamental right. So this idea of hair shaming and policing actually encroaches on the individual's autonomy. The third reason why people hold to being against this type of behavior in the space is that there are negative psychological impacts on the women it affects. So most women will fear judgment or criticism about their personal appearance. And this could lead to negative psychological behaviors like low self-esteem and anxiety. They also argue that by promoting acceptance and positivity around all hair types can boost self-acceptance and confidence. And the fourth reason that people are against hair shaming and policing is because it undermines empowerment. The natural hair movement, especially on the onset of its birth, aimed for empowerment and self-acceptance. So hair shaming based on rightness or wrongness of certain hairstyles contradict the spirit of the entire movement. Now I want to share my own personal thoughts about this. When I had watched a few videos online on YouTube where this topic came up very subtly, but you can feel the frustration in the women, you can see sort of the tussling within themselves to justify their hairstyle and the discomfort that they felt trying to not upset this proverbial natural hair body of people. It was disheartening because I felt like, girl, do you? Don't explain yourself why you're doing this and that. It's heartbreaking because I know that Blackness has a shadow of control over people. So when certain Black women wants to stretch out and do something that's not common or something that's not typical of a Black person, there's so much fire that gets tossed their way. And usually this fire does not come with a suspension of one's own belief in order to understand the other person better. And so you usually find that this creates toxic conversations where nobody hears anybody and a lot of relationships are harmed from this. It really exposes the weakness of foundational beliefs and foundational identity within the community, because I don't think hair, just as much as I don't think skin color, is really a sustainable, a foundation to build one's identity. I think anything external is not a proper foundation to base one's identity on, because the thing about being a woman especially is that you will want to change your hair up sometimes. It's just part of being a woman. There are certain times where I really feel like dressing up and other times I don't. Some days, some seasons I'm into blonde hair, the next season I'm into black, and some other times I'm rocking mini braids and other times I'm just rocking an updo or a wash and go. So I think that by trying to cement or anchor my identity based off of anything external is never the right way to go. Oftentimes, what has been the pattern in the Black community at large, so this is not the story for every Black family or every Black woman, our community has not had the proper teachings and fundamentals laid out very clear when it comes to beauty and hair care, which cue in the natural hair movement that started almost a decade ago. Maybe it has been a decade, maybe even longer, but it wasn't widespread. So there were some communities that their little black girls had long black hair, and so they knew what needed to be done, but this wasn't your norm. This wasn't the standard. And so when you have gotten so used to seeing your hair one way all your life, because the natural way it is seen is more of a crutch, it's harder because it's a mystery. If weaves, relaxers, chemically straighten, our hair in the black community has not only been a mystery to the world, but to the people inside of it. When women began to spark this natural hair movement, it was a shift really in the way that black women viewed hair care. For us, it was always salon visits, getting our hair silk pressed, or if you were like me, getting your hair pressed from the stove, hot comb to your hair, or braids or weaves, right? So that was our norm. And so to see this movement come to life at the time that it did, it has been life-changing and revolutionary, because now look at us. It's technically really a normal thing to see a black woman with her natural hair. But then there's kind of a gatekeeping of the word natural, or a gatekeeping of what it means to fully be a black woman. And I just think that's ridiculous. I do believe that women, black, white, any color, humanity, humans in general, there is a process of coming to love just as you naturally are. Because once you've nailed that, because that's identity, right? That being able to look myself in the mirror without the help of certain things that makes me feel great, it helps me to really get grounded in who I am. True identity comes from not having strongholds of any kind, where you are whole, you are complete. But oftentimes, to get to that place where your identity is no longer about your external, you have to shed off the external. You have to take the makeup off, take the wigs off. Don't rely on these things anymore for a season until you're healed. And when you're healed and whole, now you can handle enhancing those things that make you feel an extra bit of cute, or a little bit sassy, or a little bit confident, right? Those things are harmless. And so when a woman decides to heat train her hair, first of all, most people don't even know her journey. Most people just see some physical thing and they go off with their own imaginations, and then they want to declare this is a self-hating black woman. They don't ask questions. They don't know this woman in real life. They don't know anything about her except what she posts online. I think it's silly at the end, and I know I made a whole video to say that this is very silly, and I think there need to be more voices in the space to counteract so much of the hate that comes towards these women. I just think it's crazy. We don't throw a big fuss about people who lock their hair, because I'm sorry, locking your hair is a mechanism that you have to do. You have to do something for your hair to begin looking that way. It's the same thing. I know it's probably more accepted because of the texture, but it is still a form of doing something different that your hair doesn't naturally do. Does your hair come out matted? No. Does your hair come out in locks? No. You have to do something for it to be that way. So unless you think natural means leaving your hair alone, not doing nothing, but if that's the case, there's nobody in this community that's natural except those that do freeform locks. So it's quite silly. It's very silly. I just hope that by having the conversation, we can start thinking about ourselves and being self-aware about what our actions and words implicate about us. Because I think a lot of people like to say things against a person, but what you are saying says a lot about you. Because our Lord says that it's not what that goes into the man that defiles him, but what comes out of him that defiles him. And so if you are saying things to people and belittling someone or berating someone for what they choose to do with their hair, something is disturbingly wrong, and there's corruption, and there's a defilement in your spirit, and you need to focus on getting healed and clean and cleansed more than you being preoccupied with a heat trained natural telling her that all her hair is heat damaged. Thank you guys for watching, and again, it was not my intention to mischaracterize anybody. Please feel free to offer clarity or offer your own opinion in the comments below. I want you to chime in. I want you to feel at liberty to share whatever it is you want to share. Even if you disagree with me, that's fine too, Before you go, please hit subscribe because, again, I love that my community is growing and we're always looking for more people to be a part of the community, because the more voices we have, the more diversity of thought we have. And even if you're not Black, like, you're totally welcome to stay here and continue and even provide your side of it as well, because only people who aren't Black could give the most accurate response. But I want my community to be welcoming to everyone. So that being said, thank you all. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day wherever you are, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.